Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I read something really curious yesterday in the news, and that is that a 96-year-old German lady is on trial at a juvenile court. Now you might wonder why an elderly lady would be on trial in a juvenile court, and that is for people who are adolescents, so until 21 years of age. Yes, from 18 on, you are not really an adult in Germany. You are an adolescent, ein Heranwachsender, and only after the completion of your 21st year on this wonderful planet, you are counted as a full adult, also legally. So if you can do the math, that means that this woman is on trial for a deed that she must have allegedly committed quite a while ago, and she was actually 18 at the time. So something like 78 years ago, and I think we all know what this means. Of course, we have heard of cases where in Germany some exotic travelers who were well in their 30s are also on trial at a juvenile court, but that is for completely different reasons, obviously. So this old lady is said to have been a secretary at a German camp during World War II. Although she didn't commit any crime actively, she is an accessory to murder, they say, and she helped those bad people by writing letters for them. So I could read that extensive research went into preparing this trial, and they even heard witnesses from the US and from the Middle East. So the full power of the German taxpayer and the full capacity of the German courts and the legal system are behind this very, very important case. This 96-year-old lady needs to be brought to justice, obviously, for things that she did when she was an 18-year-old little girl. Of course, as a German, I am not allowed to give my opinion on that. It could be very, very dangerous for any German to do that, so I want to say something else. I want to make the trivial observation that it seems like that the resistance against right-winged German systems is increasing continuously the more time has passed since the end of that regime. And also I have to say that mysteriously all of a sudden our court system finds capacity and finds the time to deal with these things. When I was told a year ago, some time ago, that they actually let people go because they just don't have the time to deal with them, and that people cannot be brought to jail because the jails are full in Germany. So people with violent offenses even are not going to jail anymore for capacity reasons, not for any legal reasons or for any justice reasons, no, for technical reasons that jails are full. It should also be pointed out that it is clear, and there is a precedent like that where it was like some old guardsman who was also over 90 years old. She will not go to jail for that, of course. It will most likely be a suspended sentence. I don't know if you can call it probation when you are 96 years old. Maybe she gets a probation officer or something and they watch for her, like, is she passing a red light or is she parking in the wrong spot? I doubt she drives anymore, but nevertheless, maybe suspended sentence or probation, because no prior offenses probably, and a good prospect, stable family and stuff like that, right? No, all kidding aside, this is a purely symbolic trial. This is only for show. There will not be any real consequences, I guess. The question is rather, will she survive until the sentencing? Well, a medical expert was consulted and they said she is fit to stand trial. Very interesting, because so many experts are saying all of a sudden that these 25 or 35 year old or young men that are committing crimes in Germany are unfit to stand trial, which is curious. A 96-year-old lady is fit to stand trial in Germany, of course. But I think the most important commentary or point that I want to bring up is the following. We have right now in Germany actual war criminals. Not people who were the secretary of someone or who were just typing a bunch of letters. No, actual war criminals. And there is very little that we do about it. And in many cases, we know about it. And what do? We give them free houses and free welfare and all that stuff. And we give them shelter. And they do several tours, It's not like they stay here. No, they refresh a little bit, They stay for a year or two here where they get new money and new equipment and make new contacts. And they, maybe get even medical treatment. And then they have their next tour. It's like in the military, where you know that when you're in the military, you're not deployed all the time. You have so-called tours, and they do it the same way, but with the support of the German taxpayer and with the protection of the German state. And then there is another group of people, the so-called ISIS brides or something, who also, like this secretary, they didn't actively commit any horrendous violent deeds, but they supported the men who did by, in that one case, writing letters as a secretary, and in the case of these brides, by cooking for them and washing their clothes and, being the housewife, which is also supporting them, of course. And in many cases, it is documented that they even had other functions and roles to play in the organization down there. And what do? We find a bunch of excuses and say, hey, welcome in the German welfare system. I hope you are enjoying your stay with us. But of course, these are just obvious observations, some factually correct statements, not my opinion at all, because let's not forget, that would be illegal. So I am not a legal expert, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a lay person who's looking at this, and I wonder, there are these fraudsters, for example, like investment fraud, like this exotic Madoff dude from New York, I believe. He is in jail right now, I think I read, for committing large-scale fraud, investment fraud, and I wonder, did he have maybe a driver or a gardener or a cook? Or I'm sure he must have had a secretary. I mean, he didn't write all his letters by himself. I'm sure he must have had office staff. Did they commit crimes too? Did they also commit crimes? Are they a necessary to fraud then, or how you call that? Are they also guilty because they drove him somewhere, or they cooked a meal for him, or maybe they sold him on the street? They sold him, what do these people eat? Not hot dogs, maybe bagels or something. I don't know. Maybe that makes them an accessory to a crime somehow. Maybe one should investigate that. And maybe spend some taxpayers' money in conducting large-scale interviews about who helped these people on their journey to fraud or to stealing the people's property. I don't know. Maybe one should do that. But maybe in the future there will be a whole class of different offenses and lawsuits that we cannot even fathom right now, that we have no idea about what that might be. They always come up with something else. So there might be a whole new class of crimes that we cannot even envision right now. And maybe a lot of people who think that they're not doing anything wrong, maybe in 10 or 20 years it turns out that they are criminals and they belong behind bars. We don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was a curious case, a 96-year-old elderly lady at juvenile court. Take care, servus, Kameraden.